Hey everybody, welcome back again to another episode of Momentum Motorsports Meeting. My name is Wyatt Thompson. We are on episode 39. We are one away from episode 40. And episode 40 is going to be something special, I feel like. I get this small feeling that it's going to be something special. But for today and for this week, we have got quite a lot to cover. We've got the Arca race at Bristol. We've got the Truck Xfinity and Cup race at Bristol as well. We've got some IndyCar news to talk about, along with a little bit of WeatherTech IMSA news that I want to go ahead and kind of share with y'all, along with a bit of NASCAR news. And we'll even talk about the Osprey Racing convocation event that was last Friday at the UNF Arena. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. This is Momentum Motorsports Meeting. Alrighty, so we had the Arca West race at All-American Speedway, but that kind of mainly clashed with the NASCAR Cup race, so we won't really be covering that, but I do want to go ahead and cover the Arca race and the Arca East race at Bristol. Now, why do I say that? Is because the Arca Menards series kind of mainly is like a combination of like the Arca East series sometimes. Like for the Arca East series, this is the final race for that division, even though the main division has like 4 races left still in the season. But so just kind of wanted to explain that right off the get-go. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this race. Where do we even start? There is so much to talk about. I mean, 3 drivers were in contention for the Arca East Championship. 1 driver dominating. Cletus McFarland was in this race. Let's go ahead and just kind of quickly talk about the winner. Brent Cruz led all the laps, made it through all of the lap traffic, seemed to win. I mean, along with, like, dude is on fire right now, along with Max Reeves. Like, those 2 drivers, I think they're going to be top prospects for next year. So that's kind of like a quick overlay. I mean, I didn't really expect anything different. I mean, I feel like JGR and Nitro Motorsports are going to be kind of the class of the field for the Arca Menards series next year, but this just kind of further proves my point in this win that JGR got. Let's go ahead and take a look at the notable finishers. Tristan McKee, running a second car for Pinnacle Racing, was pretty much dead even with Brendan Queen for second. Like, those 2 drivers were dead even on pace for this race. And those 2 drivers got top 5 finishes. Leland Honeyman was on the entry list for the 20 this past weekend, replacing Lawless Allen. Lawless Allen was supposed to run this race, and he wasn't on the entry list. I'm not quite sure what happened with Lawless Allen. Maybe he ran out of funding. I haven't seen any reports suggesting what happened, but Lawless Allen, he's a driver who was in the fight for the Arca Menards Series Championship, was 3rd in the standings, and now he's pretty much out of contention with Leland Honeyman replacing him. But that's probably the biggest storyline for Venturini Motorsports this past weekend. But Leland Honeyman did pretty good, got a top 5 in this race. Tyler Reif, one of the Arca East title contenders, needed to outpoint Isaac Kitzmiller, who was a rookie, and just didn't gain enough points on Isaac Kitzmiller. So Isaac Kitzmiller, as a rookie, wins the Arca East Series Championship. Shout out to him, and shout out to Fox or FS1 for not doing an interview with him and just not interviewing the Arca East champion. I was expecting it, and there just wasn't one, and I was like, huh? What? Where's Isaac Kitzmiller? Where's the champion? Where's the driver that just won the Arca East title? That's pretty big. That's very, very disappointing, but I do want to give a lot of shout-outs to Isaac Kitzmiller and Jason Kitzmiller, the whole Kitzmiller family, for doing what they did. It's been a great season for Isaac Kitzmiller in the Arca East Series. I mean, his equipment hasn't been the best. I mean, it's still going to be far off from the JGR and Venturini Motorsport days, but he stayed consistent and won the title. So huge shout out to Isaac Kitzmiller. Anyway, going back to the notable finishers, Tyler Reif and Isaac Kitzmiller both got top 10s, so pretty good for him. Jake Finch, I haven't seen him in a while. He got a top 10. Good run for him. Lainey Bice, shout out to her. She was like sideways on lap 1, turn 1, and ended up saving it. She was sideways in the middle of the corner. I thought she was going around just like that, and no, she actually just went out and saved it. So huge shout out to her because I mean, man, that save that was incredible. I was like, oh, good top 15 run for Andrew Patterson. That's a good run for him. Cletus McFarland, like I mentioned earlier, was running this race. Kind of ran respectable, honestly. He ran pretty good. Was in the top 20, kind of scrubbed the wall late in this race, still finished in the top 20, finished 17th. I saw a front stretch article by Dalton Hopkins, and he reported that Cletus will return to the Arca Menard Series for 2026. And in that article, Mark Rett, the co-owner for Rhett Jones Racing, said the team will look to run 8 to 10 races next year. So, pretty big news regarding Cletus McFarland and Rhett Jones Racing. I'm really happy for Cletus McFarland. I think this year it was respectable. His best run was at Talladega, where he had like an engine issue and still finished in the top 10. I think he can improve on this for next year. That kind of has me wondering, like, what other races is he going to run? Something to keep an eye on for sure, but glad to hear that he'll be back in the Arca Menard Series for 2026. Timmy Hill was having such a fantastic run, was in the top 5, and then hit the wall late and crashed out. Such a shame for Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill was having a fantastic run, let's be honest here. Rough race for Isabella Robusto. Seemed to have mechanical issues pretty much all weekend from practice to the race. She ends up finishing 27th, and then Zachary Tinkle was the third Arca East Series title contender, and unfortunately had to go to the garage early for, I think, mechanical issues, and he ends up finishing 31st. But those are your notable finishers. This race was good. Lap traffic in the Arca Series, especially at this track, it just makes the race so much more fun. It's probably not liked with the fans, but I don't know, just seeing the leaders kind of carve their way through the lap traffic, it was so much fun to watch. It kind of felt like multi-class racing, honestly. Like WeatherTech endurance racing, except on at Bristol or something. So I really liked this race. It was a great race for Arca Menard Series standards. Yeah, not too much to say here. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the Truck Series race at Bristol. This was the second playoff race in the round of 10. Where do we even start here? I guess we'll go ahead and start with the winner. Lane Riggs advances to the next round of the playoffs. Fun fact, he actually spun out on lap 1. I was like, he just kind of lost it on the bottom of the racetrack and had to restart pretty much dead last, essentially, after that spin. And I didn't really realize how good his truck was until he recovered to finish 9th at the end of stage 1. Like, even after that spin, he still ended up to get stage points, and that is extremely impressive to even do that. It's even more impressive that he came back to even win. So huge shout out to Lane Riggs and Front Row Motorsports. I mean, Lane Riggs is really good on short tracks in general, but the equipment that he's in, especially Front Row Motorsports equipment, wow, that was just awesome. I mean, he probably had the best truck. It seemed like he and Corey Heim were going to be the main contenders for the win. And I think I was like one of the cautions, or like to start like the final stage, he kind of, he had to stay out because he didn't have any fresh tires left. He already pretty much used them when he spun out on lap 1. So yeah, just holding on to win. that might be the biggest and the best comebacks I think I've ever seen out of a driver. So congratulations to Lane Riggs and Front Row Motorsports. Let's go over the notable finishers. Great run for Ben Rhodes, honestly. Not in the playoffs, but he's like, hey, I know that I can be better next year, and this is a building block for that. So, yeah, really good run for Ben Rhodes. Corey Heim got a top 5 as well. Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes' teammate, gets a top 5 as well. Same thing for Daniel Hemrick. Look at this. Andres Perez, Connor Mozak, those two drivers stayed out, along with Ben Rhodes, I should say. Those drivers kind of stayed out at the start of Stage 2 and kind of played it right as the race went on. And Andres Perez and Connor Mozak both got top 10 finishes, which was pretty nice. Matt Crafton even got a top 10, so really good run for ThorSport in general, except for one driver, which we'll cover in a little bit. Stay tuned for that. Caden Honeycutt, one of the playoff drivers, finishes 12th. Did get the third most stage points, so not too bad all around. A solid points day, but definitely could have finished higher considering the playoff situation for next weekend. Big storyline from him because he actually ended up turning Tyler Ankrum, who was a top 10 truck, and Ankrum ended up finishing 20th. I mean, accidental for sure. It happened in the middle of like Stage 2. Looking at it, Ankrum seemed to brake early on the entry of the corner, and then I don't think Honeycutt really expected it. I don't think he expected to just like brake so early or brake that much. And it sent Tyler Ankrum around, and it looked like they talked about it after the race, and it was like an all good, it happens, it's a racing deal, but yeah, I mean, that was a pretty big storyline in Stage 2. Continuing with the notable finishers, Raja Karuth was 15th pretty much the entire race and finished 15th. Not too much to say. I'm telling you, he is lucky because other drivers had playoff issues. Pretty fortunate that he's still in the playoffs, above the cut line, which we'll cover in a little bit. Let's see, who else? Grant Enfinger finishes 21st. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. I think he was like a top 10 truck pretty much the most of the race, and then he just fell back. Yeah, that's pretty rough. You want to know what's also rough is Bob Pockris reporting that his crew chief is being replaced by Michael Shelton, who is the interim crew chief. Yeah, his previous crew chief was Jeff Stankiewicz. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly. Yeah, I don't know why CR7 Motorsports decided to make that change. I mean, Enfinger looked just fine with him this year than last year. I mean, last year he did get 2 wins, but those came near the end of the season, and I think it's very possible that it could be the same. So I don't know why CR7 Motorsports made this change in the middle of the playoffs. But anyway, moving on. Oh boy, these two drivers that I'm going to be talking about, this is hard. These are the last 2 playoff drivers that I'm going to mention. First off, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Chandler Smith. I mean, last week he hit the wall and DNF'd, and this past weekend he was running 4th in Stage 1, looked to be having a great day to try to get himself above the cut line, and then bam, mechanical issues early on. The team actually was able to get the problem fixed, and they were actually like racing near the end, and they were able to finish 30th. It could have been 36th, and yeah, that's like 6 points right there, 6 extra points. That could mean the world of difference. That can mean the difference between advancing and not advancing. So, man, just issues, whether it's his fault or not, seem to be plaguing this team so far. I hope it doesn't continue. I like the speed that he's shown so far. I think he can make the next round, even with a huge points gap, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah. And then the last playoff driver is Jake Garcia for ThorSport Racing. Jake Garcia was having the race of his career. He won Stage 1. He looked like a real winning contender. And then at the start of Stage 2, whammo. Power steering issues. Pretty much had to go behind the wall and ultimately finished 33rd. What a shame. What a shame for Jake Garcia. In a way, I was actually rooting for Jake Garcia because Jake Garcia, he has improved vastly from last year to this year, and I was expecting him to really stand out, and he looked like the best ThorSport Racing driver. Needless to say it, ThorSport Racing always has Ben Rhodes and Ty Majeski and Matt Crafton. Nope, Jake Garcia was like the star of the show, and just really big heartbreak that power steering issues ruined his race. What a big shame. Luckily, he's not that far off in the points, but he's still below the cut line. Those are your notable finishers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cut line with one race left in the round of 10, and that one race being New Hampshire Motor Speedway, an elimination race. Let's take a look at the top of the cut line. We'll go to the top and work our way down. Lane Riggs with this Bristol win, and Corey Heim winning at Darlington the week before. Those two drivers both advanced. They're fine. They have nothing to really worry about except to maybe get more playoff points. Daniel Hemrick is plus 51. I think he's pretty good. Same thing for Ty Majeski, who's plus 46 points above the cut line. I think Ty Majeski is pretty good right now. Grant Enfinger, with Bob Pockrass reporting that his current crew chief is being replaced by Michael Shelton, who is the interim crew chief. I don't know about him. I think I would be a little bit worried. He's a new crew chief, but he also has a good amount of experience in the truck series. He's 29 points to the good, but I don't think that's safe. If you're CR7 Motorsports, I do not think that's safe. I think you have to go for stage points, and if you don't get that, you have to go for the win. You just have to. So that's pretty much Grant Enfinger's situation. Tyler Ankrum is plus 29. I think he's okay too. If he can just kind of keep doing what he's doing, I think he can make the next round. I wouldn't be worried about him. Caden Honeycutt is only 18 points above the cut line. That's not as much as I thought it was going to be, considering he got the third most stage points. I think he'll be okay, even if someone below the cut line ends up winning, but you never know at this point. He could have the same issues that Chandler Smith or Jake Garcia had. Raja Caruth is only 14 points above the cut line right now. I am worried about him. His performance this year and his performance in these two playoff races, they tell me that, he's going to get eliminated. And if none of the other playoff drivers have any issues, he is going to be eliminated right now. I'm pure calling it. I am calling it. Maybe Raja Caruth will change my mind and run top 5 at New Hampshire, but I don't see it. I do not see it personally. But Raja Caruth is the last guy in. The two drivers below the cut line, they're showing more speed, and those two drivers are drivers that I've already mentioned, that being Jake Garcia. He's only 14 points below the cut line. I'm telling you, if he has the day that he had at Bristol, he will be a threat. He will be outpointing Raja Caruth. And the other driver below the cut line is Chandler Smith, and he's 24 points below the cut line. That's honestly not that bad. That could be 30 points. I mentioned that 30th place that he got could have been 36. That's 6 points, 6 extra points that he got. And if you add 6 points to 24 points, that's now 30 points. He could be 30 points behind. So with only being 24 points back, it's not a must-win, but it's like get top 3 in the stages and get top 3 in the race, and you might have a shot at advancing. That's the playoff cut line with one race left in the round of 10, that one race being New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And after that race, only 8 drivers will have a chance at the title. 2 drivers of the 10 will be eliminated. So can't wait to see what happens next week, this upcoming weekend. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the Xfinity Series race at Bristol. The first race of the Xfinity Series playoffs. They began, and this one was pretty good. I don't know. I feel like going into the notable finishers for some reason, not even talking about the winner. I'll still talk about the winner. It was Eric Almirola. Did pretty good. Was a top 5 threat most of the race. He's part-time for Joe Gibbs Racing in that 19 car. I do kind of wish he was, full-time. He's a NASCAR driver from Tampa, Florida, and part of me was actually kind of rooting for him to win right there. So it's a pretty cool win for Almirola. But moving on to him and the notable finishers, both of the Haas factory cars of Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer get second and third. Sheldon Creed, he was the first driver that seemed to be on the freshest tires, that was just taking off and actually catching them. Was able to pass Sam Mayer near the end, and on the final lap, just tried to do like a dive bomb slide job to pass Eric Almirola, and he was close. He was very, very, very close. Fun fact, that's Sheldon Creed's 15th second place finish. Yeah, that's insane. I would be livid right now, but yeah, Sheldon Creed, a really good run for him. Great charge through the field near the end of this race. Carson Kvapil gets a top 5 along with Connor Zilic. Justin Allgaier finishes 6th, got a lot of stage points. I think he actually won stage 1, I believe, so good run for him. Harrison Burton, great run. Great run. That's another playoff driver that was below the cut line entering this race. It did not start out very well for him. He was outside the top 10 for most of this race. Played some strategy to get some stage points in stage 1, and then that kind of mainly set him up to get a top 10 near the end of this race, so pretty good run for him. Do want to shout out some drivers that aren't in the playoffs. Jeremy Clements, Brennan Poole, getting top 10 runs. Brandon Jones, he's one of the other playoff drivers, finishes 11th. It felt like he was just kind of there. It felt like he was just kind of there in 11th. So, oh well, still a decent run. Dean Thompson gets 12th. Yeah, he was running in the top 10 for a good portion of this race. I think near the second half, and he gets a top 15. That's a great run for him. Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, 2 other playoff drivers getting top 15 finishes. Those 2 drivers seem to kind of struggle a little bit and for most of this race. Austin Hill, he struggled, man. It's like he had an off day or something. Qualified pretty bad, ran pretty poorly, and finished pretty poorly. Finished 19th. And when you're the last guy out of the playoffs, only 5 points out, finishing 19th, that's just not going to cut it. Also didn't get any stage points as well. And I think stage points are really the key when you're in these playoffs. They are the key to advancing to the next round. Brendan Queen, I do want to shout him out. He made his Xfinity Series debut, was kind of around the top 20, finishes 20th, decent. Ryan Sieg seemed to have a fantastic run going for him, but had to make an unscheduled pit stop. He was a driver not in the playoffs that honestly could have contended for the win. He's great at this track. Ryan Sieg is a very, very good at Bristol. He's really good at the short tracks too. Like I think at Rockingham, he was really, really good. At Iowa, he was also very, very solid in the top 10. Richmond is also a really great track for Ryan Sieg as well. And I think this race was definitely a mark circled, if you will, to potentially win, and unfortunately had to make an unscheduled pit stop. He finishes, I think, 23rd. Jesse Love, he was another playoff driver that also had to pit late in this race, finishes 25th, so a really rough race for RCR. I do want to shout out Stefan Parsons, qualified 13th for Joey Gase Motorsports. I think that's their best starting spot for Joey Gase Motorsports for that team. Kind of ran around there, but unfortunately had nowhere to go in a crash in, I believe, stage 1. Heartbreaker for Stefan Parsons and that entire team. I actually think I saw a post from Steven Toronto saying that he kind of got a good amount of praise from Dale Jr., saying that, like, hey, keep your head up, man. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last guy I do want to talk about is Sammy Smith. He's the last playoff driver. He had engine issues, and he DNF'd, finishing 37th. He came into this race above the cut line and is now below the cut line, and I actually won't. Actually, no. Yeah, well, let's go over the cut line right now. We'll start at the top, work our way from the bottom. Connor Zilic is plus 85 points above the cut line. Yeah, that's a huge gap. He's good. He's making it to the next round. Same thing for Justin Allgaier, who is 53 points above the cut line. I feel pretty good about him moving on as well. Same thing can be said for Sam Mayer, who is plus 35. Carson Kvapil is plus 16. I think the mission for him is to just get stage points. You get those and finish in the top 10, you'll be good. It's kind of like Tyler Ankrum in the Truck Series. Just do that and you'll be fine. Harrison Burton is plus 9. Shout out to him. Came into this race, I think, below the cut line, and and is now plus 9. That's pretty good. I mean, you need to have more runs like that. You need to kind of do the same thing for stage 1 and stage 2 if you're not running top 10. You need to kind of create some sort of strategy to at least get some stage points. If you don't get stage points, you are probably most likely not advancing. So, yeah, plus 9 above the cut line. That's really, really good for him. Brandon Jones, I think he's okay. I really like his stats for these tracks in this round. Kansas is a track that you won. I think he's always been very, very good there. I think he was somewhat competitive at the Charlotte Roval, which is the elimination race for the round of 12 in the Xfinity Series playoffs. So I think he'll be okay. I think Kansas will really tell us kind of where he's at for the elimination race. Sheldon Creed is plus 7. I think he like Brandon Jones, he's really good at Kansas as well. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be a big contender there, but he's gotta like outrun like Connor Zilic. Like how are they gonna beat Connor Zilic for the win there? But yeah, Sheldon Creed is plus 7. Taylor Gray is plus 3 points above the cut line. He is the last driver in, I believe. Yeah, that's a little bit worrisome. That is a tad bit worrisome. I would be a little bit worried, but I think, but Joe Gibbs Racing is always very, very good, at Kansas. So I think Taylor Gray will be pretty good there. And then now looking at the cutoff line, who are the 4 drivers below it? 2 of them are pretty much both 3 points below the cut line, and that's Nick Sanchez and Jesse Love. Jesse Love, I wouldn't be too worried about. I think he's pretty good at Kansas as well, along with the Charlotte Roval. I actually I think he'll be more competitive at the Charlotte Roval than at Kansas, in my opinion. Nick Sanchez, I'm a tad worried about him because I don't think this team, Big Machine Racing, just has the overall speed to contend with the RCRs and the Joe Gibbs. But hey, 3 points out, like you can make that up very, very easily. Austin Hill is plus 16 points above the cut line. He's in a deeper hole now. He was already below the cut line entering this race, and now he's in a deeper hole. I'm a little bit worried about him. I think Kansas is a decent track. I think RCR is going to be fairly competitive at the road courses, but you can't be digging a deeper hole right now when you're already in a hole to begin with. So Austin Hill is plus 16 points out. And for Sammy Smith, he is 24 points below the cut line. I hate to say it, but I'm thinking it's going to be a must-win for Sammy Smith. He just hasn't shown the speed to win. I think he's decent at Kansas, so he has a chance there, but he's going to have to beat so many drivers like Brandon Jones, Taylor Gray, and even Connor Zilic. Like, how are you going to out-strategize and beat Connor Zilic? I think Sammy Smith is going to have a lot of work to do, but yeah. Sammy Smith is 24 points below the cut line. That is the cut line with 2 races left. Those 2 races are going to be at Kansas, and then the round of 12 ending at the Charlotte Roval. No Xfinity Series race this upcoming weekend. There's going to be an off week, so there's still time to kind of plan out the race and how you're going to advance. This race was good. This was a decent race. It was pretty hard to pass, especially near the end, but tires definitely meant some difference. And it was a fun battle near the end between the Haas drivers and Eric Almirola. Sheldon Creed dive bombing it into turn 3 to trying to finally get his first ever Xfinity Series win and just being so close. It was pretty insane. I was like, whoa, that's wow, yeah, good race, good Xfinity Series race at Bristol. Now we are going to move on to the Cup Series race at Bristol. This is the last round of the round of 16 an elimination race. 16 drivers, and 4 of them get eliminated. Oh my gosh. I mean, where do we even start? Where do we even start? Oh my gosh, this race might have been the race of the year. There's so much to talk about. Let's talk about Goodyear, because Goodyear has pretty much bailed NASCAR, essentially. NASCAR has been asking Goodyear to create a softer tire to better improve the racing product at the short tracks. And if anyone remembers, in Bristol last year in the spring, there was that crazy race where tires meant all the world. Tires were going flat every 50 laps or so, and that honestly looked like it was going to be the same case for this upcoming weekend. At first, during practice, tires looked like they were able to last quite a while. I think Jeff Gluck reported that Justin Haley went 75 laps on his tires, and and that was when kind of the sun was out. It was warmer temperature. But with this race being a night race, the track was cooler. It was a cooler weather, and it started off with a banger. It started off with an absolute banger. Stage 1 was just utter chaos, with drivers slowing down on very, very old right side tires, and drivers coming and going all throughout the field. But anyway, going back to Goodyear has done such a great job with just creating a softer tire and trying to improve the short track races. I do want to give Goodyear a lot of credit, because I mean, hey, they've had their own share of criticism along with NASCAR. NASCAR's pretty much asked them to kind of bail them out because they know how bad the next-gen car races at the short tracks. And, I mean, for Goodyear to have a new right-side tire and for that right-side tire to just be working as much as it did, there's a lot of commemoration for Goodyear and a lot of round of applauses for Goodyear. Goodyear deserves a day off if they haven't gotten one already. So huge shout out to Goodyear. Do want to give them a lot of props for just putting this race on and potentially making this race be the race of the year so far. But going back to the race, this race had it all. Oh my gosh! Like I don't even know where to start. Let's just go ahead and talk about tires, because tires were the name of the game. If you didn't have any fresh tires, you were mainly screwed. You were pretty much set up for failure and for a bad finish. And tires were the name of the game. Like stage 1 was just absolutely, utterly chaos. It was just chaos, just all around. Like so many drivers, some drivers kind of trying to stretch their tires a little bit further, trying to go a little bit farther on their tires than others, and drivers having like their right fronts kind of catching fire with all of the rubber that was coming off of the tires. The amount of marbles that was on the outside lane, that was insane. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. That is so much rubber that's just on the outside, basically filled up with marbles, just waiting for someone to kind of go up there and get on those marbles, catch that rubber. Yeah, I mean, that is just insane. It basically made Bristol look like a one-lane groove right around the bottom, which was good. I mean, I think that's pretty good, especially with the heavy tire fall-off. Tires were the name of the game, and ultimately, a driver on fresher tires is ultimately who won. So, who won? Who won this race? It was Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, the third JGR driver. The last 2 weeks, it's been Hamlin and Briscoe. Christopher Bell is now the third. So, JGR just swept the round of 16 with Christopher Bell winning this race. Christopher Bell, who came down pit road on that last caution for fresh tires, just kind of seemed to charge through the field and hold off Brad Keselowski, who was on even fresher tires at that point, and get the win. Very huge congratulations to Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell was kind of quiet in this race. He kind of saved his tires, preserved them when he could, and got the win. Let's go ahead and take a look at these notable finishers. Brad Keselowski came very, very close, but at one point, all 3 RFK drivers were in the top 10. Zane Smith with the top 5. Great run for him. Ryan Blaney gets a top 5. Really good run for him. That basically just set him up to advance to the next round. Joey Logano finishes 5th. He did not start out very good. I think at one point in stage 1, he was like 34th, 1 lap down. But then I think slowly but surely kind of started to make his way up toward the field, kind of conserve his tires, play some strategy, and end up getting a top 5. Great run. Great run for Joey Logano. Holy smokes. Corey Heim gets a top 10 for 2311 Racing. He's a full-time driver in the Truck Series, and he got a top 10. Wow, great run for him. Carson Hocevar gets a nice top 10. Alex Bowman. I want to talk about Alex Bowman for a little bit, because heading into this race, he needed to win. I think he pretty much needed to win. I saw on the crew roster that he had mainly switched with Carson Hocevar's pit crew, and that pit crew was very, very good for this race. They were extremely fast, and they were on pace. Alex Bowman was going to win this race if not for that late race caution. If that caution didn't come out, I was so sure that Alex Bowman was going to win this race, but unfortunately for him, he just didn't have any fresh tires left and ultimately finishes 8th. And he pretty much needed to win to advance. And with this 8th place finish, he unfortunately did not advance. But man, he came close. Out of the 4 drivers below the cut line entering this race, he looked like the best one. He looked like he was going to potentially win this race and potentially pull off the upset. So I do want to give Alex Bowman a huge round of applause for just the effort that he put in and just how much speed he had, because Alex Bowman had so much speed. He looked like a top 5 threat. He looked like a race-winning threat, honestly. And the caution just didn't fall his way. I honestly believe that he didn't need a caution. He did not need a caution if he wanted to win this race. So, yeah, Alex Bowman, he's unfortunately eliminated. Chase Briscoe got a top 10. He seemed to be pretty good in this race as well. Ty Gibbs was having a really, really good run. He and Ryan Blaney were like pretty much dead even on pace for most of this race, but Ty Gibbs, he gets a top 10. William Byron finishes 12th. That's pretty good. Justin Haley gets a top 15. Haley needs a pretty good run, so good step in the right direction for him. Jonathan Nemechek gets a top 15. Man, he and Legacy Motor Club, their performance lately has been pretty good. Top 15 for him. Tyler Reddick gets a top 15 as well. Riley Herbst gets a top 20. That's pretty cool. Ross Chastain entered this race above the cut line. Salvaged what he could, honestly. Started 13th and kind of ran around 13th for much of the race and finished 19th. And he unfortunately did advance. Let's go ahead and take a look. Shane Van Gisbergen, man, just a rough round for him for this race in general. Qualified 28th and kind of ran around the top 25. And unfortunately just did not advance. He was already below the cut line, and he pretty much needed a miracle. He needed to win, and that just didn't happen. Austin Dillon finishes 28th. He was another playoff driver that unfortunately did not advance. Yeah, Austin Dillon also seemed to have a pretty rough day, in my opinion. Austin Dillon he just didn't show. Austin Cindric finishes 30th. Man, oh man, he looked pretty good. He was on pace. He pretty much looked very, very similar to his teammate Ryan Blaney. And it looked like it was going to be a pretty good finish, kind of get like a top 15, call it a night, advance to the next round, when his right front caught fire with all of the rubber, with how much it was falling off of the car. It happened to a lot of other cars as well, but it happened to Austin Cindric late in this race, and when Austin Cindric kind of exited pit road Austin Cindric was able to get the fire out, and when he came back on to the track racing, he was now the last driver in only 3 points above the cut line. And I was like, oh, if he loses any more positions, which he very well could have, he could have been eliminated. So a huge breath for any Austin Cindric fans for sure. Austin Cindric, with his 30th place finish and with Alex Bowman not winning, he advances. Denny Hamlin finishes 31st. I think I can't recall what stage he had his issues. I know his issue was his right front tire, like completely falling off, like the whole wheel and everything just falling off of the car. And that ultimately relegated him to a 31st place position. Kyle Larson finishes 32nd. Pretty rough for him. Bubba Wallace finishes 34th. Chad Fincham for Garage 66 kind of experienced the same thing that Austin Cindric experienced. Had a fire in the right front with all of the rubber fall off and it potentially catching fire. He finishes 35th. AJ Allmendinger actually started on the pole and ends up finishing 36th. Chase Elliott, who was another playoff driver, he ends up finishing 38th. He was involved in a pretty big wreck, kind of trying to get down, to the bottom lane, and just kind of seemed to get run over by John Hunter Nemechek. Definitely accidental because I don't think it was on purpose, but yeah, a pretty big hard hit that Chase Elliott took from John Hunter Nemechek, and that pretty much just kind of got him loose and squirrely, and Elliott pretty much overcorrected it and crashed hard into the wall. And at one point, he was at that point he was the driver. He was the last driver in the playoffs currently. So 38th place finish for him. And then Josh Berry, the last driver that I'll mention, the last playoff driver, experienced the same thing that Chad Fincham and Austin Cindric did. Fire in the right front with all of the rubber build off, ultimately ending his day. Smoke in the cockpit. Josh Berry had to get out, and he finishes 39th. Man, what a rough one for Josh Berry. I think he's finished like last in every single race of these playoffs. That's just insane, honestly. So the 4 drivers eliminated from the round of 16 are Alex Bowman, who again put up such a hard charge, especially near the end of this race. SVG is also eliminated, or people call him Shane Van Gisbergen. Austin Dillon is also eliminated, and Josh Berry is eliminated as well. So now, taking a look at the round of 12, since all the points basically reset, let's go ahead and take a look at the playoff standings. We'll go from the top, work our way from the bottom. Denny Hamlin is plus 26. I like where he's at for this round. He's good at Kansas. I'm a little bit worried about him at the Charlotte Roval, but I think if he can win Kansas, I think he'll be just fine. William Byron and Kyle Larson are plus 24 points above the cut line. I think he's pretty good as well. Christopher Bell is plus 20. I think he's really good at Kansas, and he's very, very good at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He's like the king at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, so expect him to be a top contender. Same thing for Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is plus 19 points above the cut line. I expect him and his 2 other Team Penske teammates to be very, very good at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Chase Briscoe is plus 10. I feel okay in Chase Briscoe. I really like where he's at the Charlotte Roval. I think he's pretty good there, along with Kansas. Let's take a look. Chase Elliott is only plus 5 points above the cut line. I honestly don't think he'll make it to the next round. I just don't think he has the momentum. He just doesn't have the momentum going for him right now. And he's trending in the opposite direction with a last place finish here, or with a 38th place finish at Bristol this past weekend. I just don't see him advancing. Bubba Wallace is only plus 1. I think he's really going to be good at Kansas. I think that's going to be a race that he has to win, and if not, I think he's likely eliminated, but I could be proven wrong. I mean, I was proven wrong the past 3 weeks. I had him out in the first round, and the performance in this round pretty much proved to me that, yeah, he can definitely make it to the round of 8 for sure. Let's take a look at who's below the cut line. Austin Cindric is plus 1. I feel really, really good about him at pretty much all three of these tracks. New Hampshire, he's great. He seems to be pretty great at because it's a flat track, and that's been Team Penske's strength. Kansas is a really, really good track for Austin Cindric. He's kind of like a dark horse pick if anyone wants to, pick him for the win at Kansas. And then Charlotte Roval. I think he finished 6th there last year, and he was also in a deep hole as well, and came pretty close. So Austin Cindric, I really like the tracks for this round. Same thing can kind of be said for Joey Logano. The only track that I'm concerned about is Kansas. Joey Logano has not been the best at Kansas. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I do like where he's at the Charlotte Roval, since he was also pretty much dead even on pace with Austin Cindric last year. And New Hampshire, which is a flat track, that's Team Penske's strengths. I expect him to be very good as well. For Ross Chastain, who is minus 2 points below the cut line, I also forgot to mention that Joey Logano is 2 points below the cut line as well. But for Ross Chastain, I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to really grind it out and get stage points. I think that's just the name of the game for him. And if not that, he has to win one of these races. Which races does he win? I think Kansas is his best bet. I think he's going to be okay at the Roval. Trackhouse just hasn't really impressed me on the flat tracks like Gateway or anything, so I don't think Ross Chastain will be very impressive there, but it'll all be a matter of just waiting and seeing. Tyler Reddick, he's the last driver out, 3 points out. I think he needs to win Kansas. I think he's going to be good at the Charlotte Roval, in my personal opinion. But New Hampshire is just a big question mark for Tyler Reddick. But that's the playoff cut line, the updated playoff cut line. The round of 12 beginning, or this upcoming weekend, at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That's going to be very, very interesting. So that's all of the race reviews that we've covered. It was quite a long race review analysis. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the Motorsports segment. Do have some small piece of news, for at least one piece of NASCAR news. FDYN Racing, a small truck series team, posted on Twitter saying that they won't race at Talladega in a couple weeks and will mainly be skipping to prepare for Daytona. A bit unfortunate, but they probably just don't have the manpower, or maybe don't have the funding to run Talladega. I mean, you're more likely to get a well-prepared truck and more funding at Daytona, if anything. So we'll miss them out on the track at Talladega, but definitely we'll be glad that they'll be more prepared to run Daytona in 2026. That's the only piece of new NASCAR news I've got. Now for some IndyCar news. Let's take a look at this. Defending USF Pro 2000 champion Max Garcia will run the Indy NXT series full-time next year with Able Motorsports. Big news. That's pretty big news. Max Garcia, a defending champion. I haven't watched any USF Pro 2000 races, but considering he's the defending champion, I mean, I would think that's pretty. I would think he would be pretty good. Kind of running a new series. I think that's pretty cool. I like this move. I think he could be a top IndyCar prospect, depending on how well he does next year. But that's pretty cool. Wishing him the best of luck. Next piece of IndyCar news, the 2026 NTT IndyCar Series schedule has just been released. Let's go ahead and take a look. All of the races will be on Fox, which is cable-free, so anyone that's looking to watch some racing, basically free, you could watch IndyCar on Fox. And the start of the season for the IndyCar series kind of starts out with a bang. IndyCar is going to be racing at Phoenix Raceway. That's going to be the second race of the 2026 season. Wow, that is pretty. Well, that's going to be pretty cool. I'm very, very interested to see how the IndyCar will race at Phoenix with basically kind of going down below the dog leg. I think that's going to be that's going to look so weird. For me, I feel like that's just going to look so weird to see the IndyCars just racing there. But either way, IndyCar racing at Phoenix, that's going to be a pretty cool NASCAR/IndyCar kind of double header. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for that. The Streets of Arlington is next. I think that's the third race of the season. That's going to be basically a street race in Texas. I took a look at the configuration. I mean, it looks pretty cool. There's a long straightaway, so I do think that's going to be a pretty good straightaway and a pretty good track. So yeah, I think it looks okay. I think it'll be racy for sure. Everything else pretty much looks fine, but no Iowa doubleheader. That's a pretty big disappointment. Really big disappointment. I always enjoyed the Iowa doubleheader. Considering there was no promotion for the IndyCar doubleheader this year, it makes sense that it's not on the schedule. It really does. But I don't know. I always looked forward to the Iowa doubleheader on the IndyCar series schedule, and just not seeing it there. That makes me a bit sad. But there's always more. There's always different races to run. So no Iowa doubleheader. There's also no race at Thermal Club. I think this is pretty positive. This is a pretty good move. I mean, the race there this year was not very good. The racing was not good. There was technical difficulties, and at one point we missed like 6 laps because Fox had a trouble connection to the cameras or something, and they had to switch over to the NASCAR race as like a backup plan because it went head to head with NASCAR. So I don't know. I like that Thermal Club is not on the schedule. Personally, that's just my opinion, but I do think that it should be used for kind of like test sessions for any teams trying to test something new on their cars. I think Thermal Club is a pretty good place for it, especially if like IndyCar officials are saying, hey, we're going to hold a test session here. Any cheated up parts that you may want to bring, you can bring them, honestly, or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I hope Thermal Club still gets used eventually. I also did want to mention that there were a lot of reports about IndyCar racing at Mexico City, but according to Adam Stern, the FIFA World Cup is being held there, and that's going to be like many complications to try to get around it. So IndyCar officially won't be racing at Mexico City. I honestly, I don't think the racing there will be any different from when Formula One races there, if I'm going to be honest. So that's just something I wanted to mention. The Streets of Markham is replacing the Streets of Toronto race. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I always thought the Streets of Toronto were pretty good. It's a shame that the Streets of Markham is replacing this race, but it will be interesting to see what the configuration mainly looks like. It's still going to be in Canada, so it's not like you're going to be missing anything. It's not like for any Canadian fans out there that actually like and enjoy, going to the Streets of Toronto race. It's not like, the Streets of Markham will probably be any farther. Maybe it'll be farther for some. Maybe it'll be closer to others. So I haven't seen the configuration for the Streets of Markham. I hope it'll be pretty good. I'm hoping it'll be kind of like the Streets of Arlington, if I'm gonna be honest. Just a very long straightaway with a couple of really tight turns. So that's another big addition to the IndyCar series schedule. The Milwaukee Mile is being the doubleheader, essentially replacing the Iowa doubleheader. I think that's pretty interesting. I like the racing at the Milwaukee Mile. I'm glad IndyCar is doing some kind of doubleheader for the oval races. I really do think that IndyCar should really continue that tradition because I always think that it's something to watch. Really anything with like a doubleheader. That's why I loved the NASCAR Cup Series season during COVID year because, when the NASCAR season had kind of stopped short, when COVID pretty much shut everything down, NASCAR had to do a lot of races on the fly, and a lot of those races were like a doubleheader race, and I really enjoyed that personally. So I'm glad IndyCar is kind of doing the same thing here. And then the last little piece on the IndyCar series schedule is the finale being at Laguna Seca, a road course. That's a pretty big disappointment. I thought the finale at Nashville this year was fantastic and electric, and it was probably one of the best races this year for the IndyCar series, and seeing a road course replace it, that's a big shame. But I really do like Laguna Seca, though. I think it's one of the most unique road courses on the schedule, so it'll be interesting to see the racing there at that track. Let's see. Okay, last little piece of news before we go ahead and wrap it up. Porsche in the WeatherTech Endurance Championship, or WEC for short, and in the WeatherTech IMSA series is having issues. There was a Motorsports.com article by Gary Watkins. The sales for Porsche are pretty much down with the introduction to tariffs in the U.S., and when sales are down, cuts have to be made, and there's a possibility that Porsche could stop running in the World Endurance Championship or in the WeatherTech IMSA Championship. Pretty big news, not for just all classes, but especially for the GTP class currently right now in the WeatherTech IMSA series. Team Penske, with its partnership with Porsche, making it the name Porsche Penske Motorsport. They're leading the WeatherTech IMSA points right now. Their cars are currently 1-2 with just a couple races left. And if Porsche ends up leaving, I mean, that's pretty big for the competition in general, but it's also very sad because Porsche just won the WeatherTech IMSA championship in the GTP class last year, and there's a lot of questions right now. Is this going to continue? Are Porsche sales going to continue to drop? Is Porsche going to really kind of cut some of their programs down and kind of really end up having to make some cuts? And the other question is, what happens to the other teams? What happens to Team Penske, or Miller Motorsports, or Wright Motorsports, or AO Racing? Lots of questions, but it's something to wait and see for the next couple of months. Something to keep an eye out. And then the last little bit before we call it a day is the UNF Osprey Racing Convocation event. It actually occurred inside the UNF arena, and I actually didn't get to go because I was representing Osprey Racing. I was in charge of taking all of the pictures for the convocation. Got some great pictures, especially with Ozzy, the team mascot, who was next to the car. Got a picture with him next to the car, which was pretty cool. I think last week during the Osprey Racing open house, I took 400 pictures, and at convocation just this past week, I took 800, which is twice as many, which is kind of crazy, but lots of photos with the car, with the crowd being around it. Kind of was repping the Osprey Racing team jerseys, got the police escort from the shop to the arena, and vice versa, which was pretty cool. Free food there. I actually had some of the garlic parmesan pretzel bites from one of the food trucks. Quite yummy. I enjoyed it. Overall, it was an awesome event to go to. I think Osprey Racing got a lot of good turnaround. There was a lot of people, interested in our simulation rig, in our simulator, in our racing simulator, or we like to call it sim rig. So a very good event. Hope to be involved in some more events like that later in the future. And that is going to do it. We will be back next week. We've got the F1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We've got the Arca race at Salem Speedway, the Truck Playoff Elimination race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and then for the Cup Series, the Round of 12 opener at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Can't wait to cover it all. Have a great day, everybody. Take care, y'all.